Here are just a couple of the things that I inherited from my father, and I wanted to share with you today something else that I got from my father. Welcome, folks. Thank you for stopping by today. I do appreciate it a lot. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Those of you that are Patreon patrons, thank you. Do appreciate it. And if you're just stopping by because you're curious, thank you. Glad you stopped. Hope you enjoy your stay. If you did, click that subscribe button, would you? Come back often. I'd love to have you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell, folks. If you're subscribed and you haven't rung that bell yet, please do. It helps us out, and you'll get notified when new videos come out. Okay, so you know what these are, right? Plumb bobs. And my dad made this one. He had purchased this one quite a while ago. Probably before I was even born. A little bit of history. I was born when my dad was 50 years old. Yeah, that's right. Came a little later in my dad's life. My mom was a little older too. She was 46 when I was born. And I am now 58 years old. So that means 58 years ago, being a 46-year-old woman, there wasn't a whole lot of experience with that, at least in modern times. And it's a miracle I'm even here, according to doctors of the day. That's what I was told anyway. So take that for what it's worth. But anyway, so you can imagine this thing is at least 58 years old, and I know that he had this before I was born, so we'll just say it's 60 plus years old. Okay, this one he made out of a piece of rolled steel and centered it, put a tip on it, put some string on it, so he had two plumb bobs. This one's considerably heavier. But these aren't the things I wanted to show you today, even though there's in some of my prized possessions. Quick story. This one, my dad was showing it to me, and I was admiring it. And I went to go use it, and the string broke, and it fell, and it landed on concrete. And this casted steel, it's fairly brittle, and it broke the tip right off. I felt terrible. My dad didn't worry too much about it. He just said, oh, well. He had a good attitude about those kinds of things. He saw that I didn't intentionally do anything. It was just one of those things. And the string was broken, and I shouldn't have been playing with it. I should have known a little better maybe, but so I ended up grinding it down and putting a new, very sharp tip on it. And I've been using it. You know what a plumb bob is, right, guys? It helps you determine if things are perpendicular to the earth or to the ground that you are building on or putting something on, and you want to make sure that it's standing erect and it's not cockeyed. You'd use a plumb bob to go, yep, it's perpendicular. Okay, let's put this aside. This is really what I wanted to show you. It's a handmade knife. That's right. My dad made this all by himself. The story behind this thing is that he used it as a fillet knife in his fishing tackle box. And he made it because he needed one. He, being a child that was born, he was born before the First World War, right? First World War was what, 1914? My dad was born in 1911, and he didn't fight in the First World War. He was just a kid when that was going on. And believe it or not, he was he was too old to actually fight in the Second World War, but he did serve at Pearl Harbor, because my parents were both from Hawaii. Originally from the Azores. I'm Portuguese. Grandparents immigrated to the United States before Hawaii was a state. And in order to bring some inexpensive labor, they opened it up and said, hey, come and work here in Hawaii, and we'll make you U.S. citizens. Seeing the opportunity, my grandparents came over and on a boat and traveled across the United States, took off from San Francisco, got on another boat, stopped in Hawaii, found work in Hawaii around the turn of the century. That is, the turn of the 20th century. We're talking 1890s when all this was happening. So that's a little bit of history there. And he served at Pearl Harbor working in their communications room. And as it turns out, December 7th, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, that was a Sunday, and it was my dad's day off. Had it been a different day, and he was frequently called in on Sundays to work communications, work comms. Had he come in that day, he would have lost his life. Because the communications room was one of the rooms that was completely destroyed at Pearl Harbor, and my dad would have been in it. But he was home that day. He did get called in to do some emergency repairs and get things kind of going for Pearl Harbor. He did have a few stories about that, but he didn't talk a whole lot about it. But around that time frame, he was starting already to be, he had been an avid fisherman all his life, but around that time frame, I believe, is when this knife was made. And so he's had this since around the World War II, maybe just after World War II. That's how I remember the story told to me. And aluminum handle. It's kind of wedged in there, smashed down a little bit. It's, I can't move that thing around. It's stuck in there. Good. It's kind of got a little curve to it. I don't know why. I don't know if that was by design. It's kind of uncomfortable. It actually should be turned this way. It would be a little more comfortable, but it's actually turned up, and it's kind of a funky thing. But he used it often when we went fishing. It got stuck in some box when we moved out here to Central Texas, and I couldn't find it for a couple of years, and then lo and behold, one day I opened up a box, and there it was, kind of sitting there just like that. Bada boom, bada bing. There it was. He made the sheath. Got some leather. Looks like I can even see some of the ink marks where he drew it out. Can't see on that side, but drew it out and then cut it and glued it together. Made a little space there so the knife would go in, and then he would just throw it in his tackle box, and there you go. Cool little knife. Great story, great history to it. I'm not sure exactly what kind of steel that is. I'm not even sure. It almost looks like it started off as a knife at some point, and then this handle got adapted to it. I'm going to assume it's at least half tang. It goes down in this far. Yeah, you can kind of hear. Yeah, it's a little hollow back here. But it's not going anywhere. And today, I'm going to take my handy work sharp, and I'm going to put a very proper edge on there. Now, it's always been very sharp. My dad had always been meticulous about those things. And so keeping his meticulousness alive, I'm going to give this thing a proper sharpening. So we'll take this out. I don't know what the angle is. Got my work sharp plugged in. I'm gonna start at 17 degrees, I think. Let's see. I'm gonna put this in here. I know you probably can't see very much of what's going on. It might even have a more aggressive angle than that. And I just realized I have a very worn belt, but I think that's okay. I'm gonna swipe this through here and see if I can get this thing sharpened up. At least start it, and I will tell. Yeah, that's right on there. So it is 17 degrees. I mean, I can tell. I don't know if you can see it on camera there, but I just polished that edge. I don't feel a burr on this side quite yet. Or no, the burr would be on this side. No, the burr would be on this side. Now, there's a little bit of a burr right there, but not so much up there. Okay, let's pass this through a few more times. Let's put this down here so I have a guide. There you go. Perf. Oh yeah, there's a burr. Yeah, I've used WorkSharp for a very long time. Some of you, if you've been following me for any length of time, know that we went up to Derex, who makes the WorkSharp, up in Oregon, paid them a visit, and been a lover of their products ever since. And if you take a look at our playlists, you'll see the WorkSharp playlist. You'll see some of the other products that they have. But this is probably my favorite, and it sits here in my workbench all the time. And I'm sharpening everything all the time. Does a great job. Yeah. Ooh. I got a burr on this side. Very nice. I'm going to take just a little more material because it's kind of nicked up. So I'm going to try to get some of those nicks out. I'll tell you what, I'll work on this. I've got to change the belt a couple of times, and I'll do that off camera. You've seen, if you want to see how to change belts and all that, I'll have a link below to Kyle Crawford, who is one of the guys in the head shed over there at WorkSharp, over at Derex. And he'll give you a good walkthrough of, how to properly use this thing. Far better job than I could, of course, but I'll give you a link so you can take a look at that. We'll be right back, okay? Yeah, it would be nice to maybe polish the rest of the blade. I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think? Should I polish that? Huh. Let's give me a minute. Let's figure out how I can get that thing shined up. I have a vise here. I can put this in there. Just my battery-powered drill. Take this wire brush, slip it in there. Ouch. There you go. You know what? Let's just do this. Is that what I want? It's very smooth. This thing away. Okay, well, I did put a nice satin finish on it. It smoothed it out. There are no rough edges. A little bit of coarseness up here. I didn't do much with that. But there you go. I guess we have a paper test we've got to do, right? Isn't that kind of what we do around here? I'm going to grab... By the way, I have this one catalog that I like to use, but I am going to put a link down below to another catalog store that we have an affiliate with, and you can pick yourself up one of these from them, certainly. Here, take a look at this.
Hey friends, we just connected with Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Why would you want to shop at those other two places?
You know where we're talking about.
When you can shop in the convenience of your own home, online at Sportsman's Warehouse. Anything from shoes, clothing, fishing, boating, archery, hunting, firearms, camping, and grilling. They call it outdoor cooking. Just use our link down below. It doesn't cost you a penny more, and you'll be helping out the TSG channel when you shop at the Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Did we make it sharp? Guys. Oh my gosh, dude. I think we're going to fillet fish quite well with this thing. No problems. There we go. Look at that. Nice. Well, there you go. Don't need any of that. Put it back in the sheath and get ready for our next fishing trip. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you joining me today and kind of just sticking with me as we sharpen this handmade knife that my dad made. You know, back in the day, they didn't have the luxury of just going down to the store and buying a knife, and either because the knives just weren't available or they didn't have the money to. So you took what you could find and you made it yourself, and that I think is kind of cool. And I try to do that too. I try to carry on in the tradition of see if you can make it yourself. God bless you. God bless America. May America bless God. We'll see you next time.
My goal is a robust edge. If I go too thin, it's not going to have the edge retention you want.